Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast and now game 1 in a series between Goody versus Tarrantius here on Newkirk Precinct Tournament Edition. Goody spawning as the purple Terran player on the bottom right hand side of the map. Meanwhile, we have Tarrantius spawning as the red Protoss on the bottom left. This is the tournament edition of the map, meaning that there is an extra backdoor entrance into this location here, and there is also no Zelnaga towers in the center portion of the map. Just slight variations, but there is still plenty to do on this map here. Now, with the addition of this expansion here and moving it a little bit further down, there isn't nearly as much dead space along the bottom side. This is perhaps one of the biggest complaints that a lot of players had about the map, the just a high vulnerability to air and drops, and Zerg players could easily park overlords in that location. But other players were forced to place up sensor towers or try and figure out what was going on in this giant dead space without investing too much supply. So far, we are looking at a barracks supply depot, supply depot barracks opening, of course, by Goody. Meanwhile, we are looking at a pylon gateway opening from Tarrantius, and we're really looking to see the gas timings of the Terran player. Tarrantius, most of the time, or most Protoss players will be going for that early assimilator just because Warp Gate is such a key tech. Meanwhile, we are looking at Goody now going into a faster refinery as normal, not going for, say, a command center first. A lot of Terran players have been going for gas a little bit earlier just because of factories and widow mines, or perhaps Goody could try and go for Reapers. The Reaper is a very good scout, especially on a map like this with a lot of cliffs. You can see that a Marine is now being trained, and with this, if Goody does not place down a bunker or a supply depot, then it is most likely going to be a Reaper follow-up, and then perhaps into a command center. Nope. Goody wanting to prove me wrong once more, and like many professional StarCraft players, StarCraft 2 players are able to do it fairly frequently, getting up now a reactor on the barracks. Interesting choice there, as Goody is going to buy some time, not being supply blocked. He is upgrading to an orbital command, and now as that reactor is getting added onto that barracks, he isn't forced to constantly try and train up more Marines. I do like this particular style of opening. If you can't train units, might as well add an add-on. You're going to see Goody now perhaps try and double train up Marines here in just a moment. You can see Goody had pulled off those SCVs that were originally on gas, as we're now looking at an SCV doing a little bit of a drive-by. He can see that his opponent did take up 2 gas here, but he's only harvesting with 2 workers on each. So his opponent hasn't really tipped his hand in any way, shape, or form, as this SCV wants to see when this Nexus comes down. He will spot it here, as the Mothership Core should be able to get off the kill. Yes, there it goes. Poor SCV unable to return home. Now, more Marines are being doubly trained off of this reactor barracks, and this is going to become a very, very strong play. The sheer production of these Marines and the number of them may catch Tarrantius off guard. If it was just maybe 3 Marines, the Zealot would be like, yeah, you know what, I can run away from that very, very easily. But it's going to be 7, more than double than most players would expect at the time. So we'll see if this is going to happen here. It may even get up to 9 if that Zealot is just a little bit too slow. The Marines are still sitting there waiting at the top of the ramp. That Zealot going to have a very, very bad day. We are going to get into 9 Marines. Is it going to be in time, though? That Zealot going to pop up the ramp here, and, oh, check shit, there it goes. And wow, that Zealot runs straight into a bunch of Gauss rifle fire and doesn't see the light of day. Well, I guess it goes back to Ire, or actually, it's not. They don't go back to Ire anymore, do they? And then they go to Shakuras, and Shakuras doesn't have the light of day, so I was completely wrong in my lore there. Alright, I can't click on that Marine, or you can't see the little circle underneath, as the Marines are just doing a little bit of a dance around. Not quite sure what happened here. Was that it looked as though, yes, an SCV did scout this location, making sure that there is no sort of proxy locations whatsoever. Tarrantius is now just sitting on a couple of sentries and a Mothership Core. Both players content with playing a very economic game, as we are now going into some Widow Mines. Goody still has not lifted off and landed his command center here, meaning that he is currently mining with diminishing returns off of this base. 19 SCVs here, a number of them also building additional buildings, as we are going to be going into a medevac. So far, Widow Mines, Marines, that Widow Mine does do a lot of damage, especially to mothership cores and other flying units. Extra bonus damage to shields, just perhaps one of the ways Terran players are getting a huge advantage over Protoss with those Widow Mines. Let's take a look at this. Phoenix is going to come around, and it looks as though the Phoenix will be able to make its way out. There is the pickup, and it is going to be after burning its way into his opponent's base. Now, this is a two-prong attack. You can see that there's one SCV off to the north, keeping track and scouting everything. Orbital Command not training up any more SCVs. This is a bit of a risky gamble here, as another probe gets taken down. At the front door, there are sentries and a mothership core. But at the back, we are going to see, a squadron of Phoenixes right there, able to stop that in from play. However, offensive missile turret coming in from Goody. I love this play. This is something that we saw back in the Brood War days, whenever you do a push against Mutalisk. Oh, there is the photon overcharge. Poor Marine. Is he going to get healed? There goes the Widow Mines, and that is going to perhaps buy some time. Tarrantius, however, buying a lot of time with this photon overcharge, knows for a fact that, the Marines really do not want to engage against that. Siege tanks may try to make their way over. There is one siege tank up on the high ground here, as a lone probe could try and spell some doom with a proxy pylon. All right, what are we going to be seeing next? That Nexus still has plenty of time on that photon overcharge, plenty of energy on this mothership core once more. Are we going to perhaps see another engagement here in just a second? There's the photon overcharge. It has come to an end, and there it goes again, wasting a lot of energy, and now pulling back with all of those Marines. Marines now trying to fight back here. There could have been a Widow Mine hit. Yes, there was, but I don't believe that much damage was dealt. Only one kill, but there was a good amount of, damage dealt to some Zealots and some Phoenixes. That splash damage very, very prominent there, as we are now looking to perhaps get some detection down here. Let's take a look at what's happening next. Oh, the photon overcharge. There's the Oracle. It does spot that unit there, as the Oracle is a detector. Very, very nice use of the Oracle, especially considering that the robotics facility was not yet in play. That was key. That was very important. Without the robotics facility before, Protoss players in general were very limited in terms of detection. Now that is no longer the case, as the Phoenixes are doing a bit of a flyby there. However, some of them are taking some shots, and it looks like one of them will get taken down. Another one down to only 2 hit points, as those shields are now regenerating. Proxy pylon up on the high ground. We are sitting at the 11-minute 30-second mark of this game. Harvester count 56 compared to 42. This is not looking good for Goody. Goody, everything that he has tried to do in terms of harassment has pretty much failed every step of the way. But let's take a look at the army sizes, and the army sizes tell an even similar story. About a 700-800 resource difference in these armies, but some of them are within the Phoenixes. Phoenixes are generally not the best units when you are dealing with a large ground army, but what is going on here? The Vikings are now being brought over. There goes another Phoenix down. We may see the missile turret perhaps get off another 4 shots of that longboat missile, but not enough to finish off those Phoenixes. And airplay still very strong on Newkirk Precinct, even if it is the tournament edition. Tarrantius now setting up his third base well before the Terran player is setting up his third. And Goody may just try and win this outright, deal a tremendous amount of damage with these Marines. The Marines, however, are not upgraded at all. They're currently sitting at 0-0, as this Observer is now keeping track and keeping tabs. Infernal Pre-Igniter will be helping those Hellbats as well. That the Hellbat upgrade gonna be able to deal a lot more damage here. You can see what those Hellbats were doing before, and now the Vikings are now making their way forward. We could see a Widow Mine burrow itself here, and are we gonna see the burrow? Yes, we will, as the engagement now coming in. There goes the engagements. Now the siege tanks need to back off. Force fields coming in, and you can see the quick shots all across the map here. All right, let's see. The Vikings now going into ground mode. This is not a good fight to be in, especially against an Immortal. The Immortals just pew their way through those Vikings, and those Vikings don't really do much of anything. All right, that one Immortal has already gotten 7 kills, has not taken any shield damage, and that fight really in the favor of Tarrantius, as we are now looking at why just go after the Hellbat. The Hellbat is actually a confirmed kill, as opposed to trying to deal extra damage to something that isn't a light unit. All right, that Hellbat, apparently the Siege Tank is going to be a confirmed kill. Oh, does get it and gets them both. Tarrantius knowing the amount of energy on that Oracle perfectly, and now turning off that Pulsar Beam in order to regenerate energy once again. It is 3 bases to 3. Goody does have Hellbats with Infernal Pre-Igniter on the field now. That will be very strong, especially against all of those Hellions. Unfortunately, this is not Brood War, where Hellbat drop off to the side. Was there a lot of workers killed? 11 or 8 workers killed there. The Harvester count now 74 to 65. I believe that was a Hellbat drop, but the Immortals were there to once again take care of it. Taking a look at the losses, about a 900 resource difference between the two. Immortals, Zealots now making their way down the map again. We can see a 4th base by Tarrantius, and Goody, even though he is harvesting less resources, he is still trading fairly efficiently. Normally, when you go up against a larger army, you expect to have larger losses. We can see that to be the case here, but it isn't as drastic as I have seen in some other battles. Army supply is only a 4 or now 2 supply difference between these two armies. And now with the number of Immortals on the field and High Templars, I am waiting to see when Ghosts will be added. I still do not see a Ghost Academy anywhere on the map. You can see that the mineral patches are starting to mine out here. Double armory for double upgrades. Siege tanks are currently sitting at 1-0. Not even starting the 2nd research yet. But Goody is doing a good job keeping all of his resources in check. You can see his total resources between gas and minerals has been floating at about 500 to 600. He'll probably drop that back down lower once again. There you have it, getting up the Ghost Academy and those barracks, which are oh so necessary. Another Hellbat drop coming in. Oh, there's the feedback onto the High Templar, or from the High Templar. The one Hellbat perhaps trying to chase after those probes there. No real effective trade at all, as he did end up losing that medevac. Perhaps going after the High Templar would have been a very risky maneuver, but it would have been taken out, as the High Templar is rather slow and does take extra damage from that Hellbat. All right, Goody now already up to 16 Hellbats, already up to 10 siege tanks. And I guess he's just going Hellbat Siege Tank Viking, a very intensive mech build here. We can see that he's sitting at 1-1 upgrades. He has double armories, but he's still not upgrading at this point. That does make me scratch my head a bit. He really did not need to. Oh, a beautiful revelation right there as the Hellbats try and take down the debris. It's gonna perhaps stay there for quite some time, as we are now looking at an SCV wandering into a group of Zealots. All right, a quick scanner sweep reveals what he doesn't want to see. Ghost now being trained, but is it going to be enough? Is it going to be in time? There is one Ghost, and he does have he should have enough energy for an EMP shockwave at just the right moment, but he doesn't have cloaks, so he could get feedbacked rather quickly as well. All right, sensor tower now coming in. 25 seconds. We're instead going to see an attack coming up from the high ground ramp here. We can see that there is this cooling tower, and the cooling tower could get destroyed here. That is perhaps a really dangerous place. The cooling tower does fall. There goes some debris once more, blocking any attack from that particular side. I don't believe that Tarrantius would have even wanted to engage from that side, though, as all of his units would be stuck on a choke point with siege tanks and Hellbats blasting away. So far, we are now looking at a Warp Prism making its way off to the side. We could have a drop straight in here as we are now going into double orbitals. Hellbats doing a great job clearing up the expansion here. Are they going to spot that pylon? I do believe so. Or is it just going to be outside of range? Oh, yes, he does spot it. He should go ahead and clear that up, as we do see another proxy pylon has been placed down. Zealots now making their way over here as the Hellbats trying to clean up the debris that they made. And now there is another engagement. Hellbats going after Zealots. Oh, beautiful layering there. Getting in a good amount of damage as another Zealot gets taken down. Oh, this Hellbat did not get the final shot off on that last Hellion there. All right, the Hellbats still doing a great trade. Let's take a look at the losses. The losses are now even, and Goody has actually taken the supply lead. However, the upgrades should tell a different story. The Zealots are currently sitting at 3-0 upgrades compared to the 1-1 upgrades of those Hellbats. That is going to be a sad day. We are getting into level 2 plating. Are we perhaps going to see this liftoff of the orbital command? I do believe so. There's some feedback, and once more, force fields preventing units from escaping. However, the siege tanks are now pushing their way forward. This could be an extremely, extremely dangerous play there, as you can see that the Vikings are now trying to make their way in. There's the recall, and oh, the mothership core does get taken down, or I thought he was taken down. I saw something explode. No, the mothership core survives at 119 hit points. Now, this massive tank army moving across the center. 2-2 upgrades on the siege tanks now as we are transitioning into Thors. This is going to be a huge move once more, as this very slow tank army should be able to blast away anything that tries to come its way. There is a handful of Colossus, 4 Colossus on the field, 3 Vikings on the field, but the Colossus don't really have to worry about the Vikings, as they have to worry about the siege tanks. The siege tanks' damage are just so high with superior range that that base would fall or the Colossus would just get knocked over in a matter of seconds. Here you go. There is a Hellbat there. All right, 2 Hellbats gonna take down that Zealot very easily, as we now see the siege tanks completely destroying this base. Is it gonna continue forward? No, it should back off here, as we now see the main force just going across the center. The siege tank army is rather slow. High Templar and Colossus and Immortals are not known for being fast, but they are in the base of Goody. Goody is in a bit of trouble here. The Vikings now making their way over. There is some attack. There's the Hellbats. There's some Psystorm, as well as the siege tanks on the high ground are just going to get melted. Colossus and Immortals now attempting to attack their way through, as some EMP shockwaves land and destroy all of the Immortals. However, the siege tanks are now lower in count. This was not a good push by Goody, as the Zealots have found a way inside the base. Warp Prism on the bottom here, and now with a 40 supply advantage for Tarrantius. Tarrantius has retaken lead in this game. All Goody can hope to do now is trade, and trade efficiently. That is the problem of the siege tank army. It is rather slow in sieging and unsieging. You could have seen a difference of 10 seconds is all that it would have taken between victory and defeat there. All right, let's go ahead and get a cancellation. That photon cannon, oh, is it going to get taken down? Yes, it will, or the pylon will get taken down, leaving that photon cannon unpowered. All right, we are now looking at the army now trying to make its way back. The siege tanks are generally or always better when they are already in position. So they rather get attacked than attack there. As you can see, a whole bunch of damage is being dealt. Ghosts are in position as well. No weapons upgrades at all, as the siege tanks are all here. Oh, this could be bad. The cooling tower could get taken down. Vikings are now making their way over. And is it going to be enough? Stalkers blinking their way forward. And this will end up being the GG, as all of those units are now cleaned up, and a 70 supply difference between these two armies. Income, very, very sparse for Goody at his natural, and that is it. Meanwhile, long distance mining for Tarrantius is the only thing that's keeping him in this game, except for the fact that he has a 70 supply advantage. Let's take a look at the army supply. 129 versus 75. Mules now being called in. Try to strip mine this base. Perhaps get up enough Hellbats to survive what may be the final confrontation. Siege tanks are in position here. And there you go. One poor Zealot gonna get blasted the moment it gets within range. However, You can see Tarrantius buying time to split up his forces and perhaps try to flank out Goody. Army 127 versus 82, a 40 supply difference now. You can see that the Colossus all coming in from different sides. Archons now pushing in as well. And the concave here is so good. Goody gives the GG as Tarrantius takes game 1. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed game 1. Please stay tuned for game 2.